Hey YouTube folks, I haven't done a video in a while, but I thought some of you might be interested in what I'm about to show you today. So here's the question: what does a Ford F-350 Super Duty dually, about 8,600 pounds without a toolbox, what happens to it whenever you run into a PT Cruiser doing somewhere around 25 miles an hour? I'll show you. Okay, on this side of the truck, you don't see much. There's a little secret up front there I'll show you. But let's first take a look at this. Yeah, that bed is bent. The toolbox got slammed forward, and that bed is all foobar now. So let's come around to the front. I don't want to reveal it too quickly, but yeah, I'm not real happy about that. On the plus side, it didn't leak any fluids and I was able to drive it home, but on the downside, I'm probably not going to have my truck for a month, and the more astute observers will notice that the tow hooks are not quite straight, and that's because the frame's bent. The vehicle pulled out in front of me while I was doing 45 miles an hour. I slammed on the brakes as hard as I could, and the actual collision speed was about 25 miles an hour. And right there, where the paint has flaked off, the frame is bent. So that'll need to be pulled. Now the right-hand frame rail is also bent. I don't know to what extent, but I also suspect that the steering box is probably damaged because it's a little tiny shaft in there. I certainly wouldn't want to drive this thing with a steering box that's been through that, so I'm going to insist that they replace that. So let's pop the hood. I had to take the two bolts off right here and here to get the hood latch off. So the newest report here is kind of encouraging or interesting. If you look, I would say the core support is probably just a smidge bent. It might actually be straight. The core support may actually not be damaged. The radiator hasn't been pushed back. The radiator's not damaged unless there's some sort of broken plastic on it. The air conditioning condenser is pretty well trashed. The grill got pushed into it, and behind the air conditioning condenser, down in there, which you can't really see, is the transmission cooler. Now I had upgraded this one to a 6-liter transmission cooler that I bought from Rock Auto, so it's got the 26-row cooler. That'll have to be replaced. And then down here, you can see this is the power steering cooler. The power steering cooler is also damaged. The bumper's been pushed into it. And of course, the bumper, which the bumpers on these are actually really thin metal. This is not really a structural member. The real bumper on this is behind this front valance. That's where the real crash structure is. There's like a 2x4 3/16 or 1/8 inch thick wall tube. Yeah, see that down there? That is the real bumper. That's the actual structural bumper, because it sits low, so that way you don't have the vehicle actually penetrating the cabin of smaller vehicles. So I'll tag some pictures at the end of this, maybe, of the vehicle. I don't know if I'm going to, but anyway, so the steering wheel, well, another thing here, you can see the fender got pushed into the door because that frame rail bent, and so that all moved part of the cab over. As you can see, there's glass fragments. The engine and everything runs and drives fine. It wouldn't shock me if the motor mounts are damaged, because it's a heavy drivetrain, sudden deceleration like that. If the bed is bent from 400 pounds of toolbox. I can't imagine that there isn't some other damage. The battery over there popped out. I had to put that back. And, you know, of course, everything in front of the core support is garbage. This light popped out, and it won't go back in because, as you can see, the fiberglass is not compliant anymore. This corner marker, now that's not even a corner marker, I guess just a filler piece. It's kind of part of all of this, and it's all popped out. So this all won't go back in. I kind of folded it into place. You can see looks like the headlamp busted in there. The adjuster is hanging out right here. My horns, which I don't think were working anymore. I had the aftermarket little dual horns here for idiot drivers. Those are all broken. The right hand side you'd think is unscathed, but this bumper doesn't line up here, and well, you can see this is rounded right here. It's not straight anymore, and there's actually a bulge in the fender right here, which, you know, I can't even see it because it's so bright out. But so yeah, I mean, I'm estimating $8,000 to $9,000 worth of damage because it's going to require a frame pull, and it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if there was some cracked frame in there. The cross member in front of the engine there, it wouldn't surprise me if that's cracked. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the ears on the steering box broke too. I mean, you can see everything has just been moved, and you know, so that part of the frame right there, you know, it looks to me like that's actually boxed on the inside there. So because you can see down in there, or I can see down in there, that the steering box, the bolts go through the frame, and the steering box is on the inside. So that's a boxed, from the shock tower forward, that is a boxed frame rail. So now the airbags did not go off. You can see steering wheel's all cattywampus. When it's going straight, it's turned about 90 degrees from normal. The steering box, or the airbags, everything I can find online, which, you know, this is not really expert anything, is the number is somewhere around 16 to 28 miles an hour. And so I have to figure that, you know, with four-wheel disc brakes, you know, 13-inch disc brakes all the way around in good condition, that if you hit the binders as hard as you can possibly hit them and the power kicks in, that it's not unreasonable to scrub from 45 down to 25 miles an hour in, you know, a second and a half. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm not really pleased with the outcome here. I've talked to my insurance company and the other person's insurance company, and waiting to hear back from them to see that they're for sure going to repair my vehicle, that there isn't going to be any dispute. But my hope is that, well, I'd like to get upgraded headlights, because these ones, you know, everybody knows at night, you know, they're not spectacular. So I would like to get some of the aftermarket headlights, either HID or maybe something with like an LED or whatnot. I'll have to research that. And then I would like to get an aftermarket bumper if I can somehow fit that in. I don't know how that's going to go, but you know, I'm not really into gaudy aftermarket bumpers, you know, the big giant ugly things, and I don't want something that weighs 500 pounds. So I don't need another 500 pounds on the nose of my truck. And then with the bed being foobarred like this, I don't think this is, you know, fixable. I'd really like to put a utility bed on this if I can, but you know, spending $6,000 on a utility bed, my guess is that one of these beds retails for somewhere around $3,000. So, and you know, the dually bed is different than the single rear wheel bed. They have holes in the side, and you know, it is a different design. So my guess is there's somewhere around $9,000 worth of damage to this, maybe more. In this part of the state, or this part of the country, I've seen these trucks, the value somewhere in the realm of $20,000 to $26,000, because it is a 7.3, and 2 years ago I put an ATS transmission in it. I put the GT38R turbo on it. It's got a DP tuner chip. It's let's see what else, you know, it's got the 6-liter cooler. I had all the gaskets and everything replaced that go bad. It's got the S&B box, which looks like I need a new filter because that one's filthy. But as far as, you know, it's basically about as hopped up as you can get on a stock set of injectors, which are the 140cc split shots. It is a California truck, so it has the glow plug controller instead of a glow plug relay. But anyway, all that work that I had done to it cost me about $13,500. So yeah, the transmission alone's like $4,500, and then you know, I had everything, all the axles serviced, the transfer case serviced. You know, the turbo is $1,650, and I had the EBP delete pedestal installed because the O-rings on those things, the EBP was leaking oil and crap like that. I had the International up pipes installed, which if I zoom in here, yeah, you can kind of see right there. Anyway, the International up pipes replaced the factory ones that use the standard, you know, crushable exhaust gaskets that leak continuously. So anyway, I know, you know, it's not all that spectacular and interesting, but some people might be interested to know what a collision looks like in these trucks and what you could expect. So, you know, pretty much any passenger car broadsided at, you know, 25 to 30 miles an hour, this is what you're going to get. Certainly expensive to repair, especially with the frame damage. If it was just a straight-on collision with no frame damage and no misalignment and no bed, then it would probably only be like $3,000 or $2,000 to fix, because it's just, you know, fascia. But with the frame bent, the fender pushed back on this side, you know, that's going to require some alignment rack, you know, some frame rack work. But anyhow, thanks for watching. Sorry for all the babble. Bye.